Hey, it's SickBoy from the Gaminganarchist Collective, and I want to get some information out here. Outside of the debate, outside of any arguments or points of view, just so we are all in a state of understanding as to where the video game industry actually is at this point. People bandy around numbers and figures like they understand the context, and a lot of them clearly don't. Because when people come to me and think that the lion's share of what a game costs is the cost of the disc printing, you people are all off in your own little world. So I'm going to break it down so that everybody is coming from the same understanding so that we can all follow the logic and discuss and come to a conclusion together as to what we all think is the way forward. We might not come to a conclusion, but we can at least have the basic fucking information. So, right, this is an information. What happens to the breakdown of a $60 game? This information is going to be in US dollars because it came from Steve Perlman, who is the founder of OnLive, which is a game on demand service, which is based in Palo Alto. Okay, so of the $60, $15 of that goes to the retailer. Okay, $7 to returns, $4 for distribution and cost of goods. So that's the printing of the disc and the shipping it around. Platform royalties $7 and publisher $27. So that's where you get kind of so the retailer has $15 per disc to make profit. That's why you find online retailers can slim their costs down. That's why they charge less, because they don't have to rent stores. They don't have to have sales teams. They literally just have a warehouse and a website that they maintain, a customer service line. They pick and pack and stuff, and they often charge you for the postage. Some are free, some will charge, but that's down to their personal business model. That's how they can cost you. That's how they can cost less than the high street stores, simply because they're not paying those people to do the job. Now, returns, that money is set aside for unsold games. So, you'll sell the game full price, it won't sell, they'll drop the price, they might drop the price again, they might put it in a crazy sale just to deal with it, and failing that, they then $7 a disc goes, $7 is set aside for the redistribution and or the destruction or reselling of these unsold games. Okay, so then you distribution cost of goods, as I said before, that's your haulage firms, that's your disc printers, that's the people who make the jewel cases, that's all of that. $7 platform royalty, which is going to, that's where you got Sony, Microsoft, Steam, Nintendo, whoever. They are taking their cut of the game because you are hosting it on their platform. And the publishers obviously take the rest. Now, how much of that goes to who? That's entirely down to the publisher. Now, depending on their deal, whether it's an internal developer or whether it's an external developer, how much of that money they've paid the developer is entirely down to their personal business model. So there is no amount kind of by default, it's just an amount of that 27. Now, what I've seen from sort of basic anecdotal evidence, on average, it's 1/3 to 2/3. So that would mean, on average, about $9, round about $9 a disc go to the developers, give or take however the deal goes. So now we need to look at how much games cost. So there we go. So $27. So that's $27 million per million units sold goes to the publisher. Okay, so now we know when they're talking about how much they need to make. Anyway, right, so game-wise, I've broken down the calculations of a number of games that I know the price of so that we can actually see how many games they had to sell in order to be profitable. Okay, so Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2, two games from Naughty Dog, both made to the same budget, $20 million US. That means that each of those games had to sell 740,000 units in order to be profitable. Anything above that is pure profit for Sony and Naughty Dog. Okay, right, Brutal Legend, which is made by Double Fine and published by EA. That was made for $24 million, and that was a good game that sold pretty well. And that only needed to sell 0.89 million units, so there was a lot of profit there for Tim Schafer and co. Metal Gear Solid 4, obviously a big PlayStation 4 exclusive, is now coming to, I think it's actually coming to the Xbox 360 this year. That game was a very expensive game of its time, cost $60 million to make, so it needed to sell 2.2 million units. Now, given that Metal Gear was pretty much a system seller for the PS3, they did make that money back. Tomb Raider cost $100 million US. That's why they needed to sell 3.7 million units just to break even. That's why Square Enix said they needed 7 million sales to make enough profit. Grand Theft Auto, exactly the same, 100 million, 3.7 million units. They were two of the most expensive games of all time, with the exception of one. That being Star Wars: The Old Republic, which cost EA and BioWare $200 million to make, So they needed to sell 7.5 million units, and that's on a PC game that didn't do all that well, frankly. It was not... They wanted it to become the new... it was basically a reskinned Warcraft, and it did not sell all that well. So see, we can see how here, budgets versus expectations, where these companies stand. This is why Square Enix said Tomb Raider was a failure. It wasn't a failure as a game, it was very good. Financially, it was a failure because they too heavily invested in it. However, nobody is going to say, if Uncharted 2 sold 2 million units, or the same amount as Tomb Raider, Naughty Dog would not be calling that game a failure. Okay, so we desperately need to consider, what is the most important, where in the budget are you, as a gamer, think makes sense? Do you think a game should cost 100 million, 200 million, 300 million? Think it should just cost more? Think that will help the returns, help more people sell it? Do you think that maybe the best thing to do is to take the money out of elsewhere, to cut down on the retailers and just use direct digital distribution, or purely online retailers for the slightly less of a saving? Do you, do you try and push Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft to say, cut down your royalties, you're squeezing the developers? These are all things, these are all valid arguments you can make. Do you blame the price of oil for the distribution and the cost of goods, having to ship these things around? Do you say that the publishers are expecting too much because they're too heavily investing in the product and they don't understand their returns? Is used games the problem where people are... See, I don't want to go into my opinions on this video because frankly I don't want the message to get lost. Because some people disagree with me, and some people may have a valid reason, some people may just be dicks, but that is what it is. I've said vocally before where I think the answer lies. This is where the information lies. Share this information around to people, get them to understand that this is how much games cost, this is how much they need to sell in order to make money, and it is dependent on each game, so it is down to... Ultimately, it's down to the publisher, how much the publisher chooses to invest. And down to other market forces putting that in the way. But ultimately, the amount a publisher makes is going to be fixed per disc. Right. So hopefully that'll actually stop some people thinking, maybe doing some calculations, seeing what they think about certain games, what have you. And hopefully it will aid people in this debate. Because frankly, I don't care about shouting louder than everybody else and winning an argument by just going, la 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 la, not listening. I would rather us all have the tools and the information so we can all look into it. And do you know what? If I turn out, you go through all the information, we'll all come to a consensus that used games are evil and that I've been wrong to saying that they're not the problem that people say they are, I'll hold my hands up. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll hold my hands up. In the meantime, guys, you've got the information, do with it what you will. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.